Welcome to Fire Team Chat. I am not Jose Otero.
No, you're not.
This is Destiny's IGN's Destiny podcast.
This is Destiny's
This
IGN.
is why they don't let me host. I am joined today by Alfredo.
Hey, what's up, Destin? Yes, we have a special guest today.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do. You want to pop over the mic?
Pop over to him really quick.
And
Broman,
woo!
Hi,
Broman's
I'm
on the
Professor
horn
Broman.
today. What's up,
Hello.
dude?
I am great. How are you guys?
We're doing well. Thank you for joining us.
Broman, tell
Happy to be here.
the listeners and the peoples a little bit about yourself.
What? I am a Twitch streamer and a YouTuber. I do primarily Destiny stuff. I stream like every day, and it's a good time.
So where can they find you at on the
Where can you
Twitch?
find me at? You can find me at twitch.tv/Professor Broman, or on YouTube at youtube.com/BenWCA, which doesn't make any sense.
Man, you and
but it's-
Goth and like nothing is synced whatsoever.
Dude, no, literally all of my social media is Professor Broman, except for that, because Twitch would not let me bind a second YouTube account for my highlights when I made it 2 years ago. So I kind of got stuck with it.
At least it wasn't like twitch.tv/uppercase and lowercase t
Oh yeah,
3.
at least my YouTube
RQ.
isn't like Silly Bear 25, like or something like when I was 10.
So we've got a lot to talk about today.
Yeah,
For
big
sure.
Bungie update hit. Let's open up with the release date.
You want to open up
man.
with that?
Okay, let's open up with the weapons.
You want to open?
Let's open up with the House of Wolves.
Let's
Those
talk
are the three
about
topics we'll be covering
let's
today.
talk about
I know the
Destiny
three
2.
topics.
No, we'll start with the weapon rebalancing. I think that's the most important topic that we should discuss.
Yeah, that's a
off
big
the
change.
bat.
Yeah. So
if people don't know, Alfredo, do you want to explain what's
yes,
happening?
So there's a lot of changes that are going to be happening in terms of the weapon. I'm gonna go ahead and pull this up. Lots of weapon tuning.
Pretty much everything's getting nerfed in some way,
Exactly.
except pulse rifles.
Pulse rifles, yeah. There's going to be a buff for the pulse rifles. Very, very interesting. Notable changes to other weapons like the hand cannon are those are going to be less lethal at a longer range.
It's going to be more about accuracy.
Yeah, and then you
Yeah.
go with the fusion rifle. The cone spread's going to be a little bit wider at a longer range as well. Anything you can think of too, Broman, on that list?
What is going to be changed? Well, the thing I'm most excited about actually is the PvE shotgun buff of 100%.
Yeah.
100%. So much more damage. I am like ecstatic about that.
Yeah, that's true.
That's just PvE, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh man, if
What are
they
they- are they-
100%
I
buffing
like
PvP.
PvP.
No,
Oh
that
my
won't happen.
God.
That won't happen. But what are they doing for PvP? Anything? Are they leaving it alone?
It looks like for shotguns and fusion rifles, the only tweaks that they're making in PvP is that they are. It's really weird. The phrasing, like they're basically you're gonna have less initial ammo values
Yeah.
when you're starting a Crucible match. So I don't know if that means that like every time you die and spawn in, they're gonna maybe take ammunition away from you. Because I was talking about it on stream today, and everyone's like, "That's kind of dumb. They're just gonna take it away at the beginning, and then you open up a crate and you're fine." So
Yeah,
I think
but you also have to
what
go
they
hunt for that
might
crate.
be trying to
and,
do
like,
is
yeah.
just
Well, there's
kind
always
of
a crate right in
reduce
your
your
spawn,
total
though.
available ammo or something. I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't know. What do you think, Roman? Like overall, do you think like these are good changes, solid changes, bad changes?
I like the changes. I think that I like that they are constantly focusing on balancing and rebalancing and trying to make everything even. And I know that like as a player and like of other MMOs and other games, like, everyone loves min-maxing and like I want to have the best piece of gear. But Bungie is really on a mission to eliminate that. Like they want everything to be a choice.
Yeah.
You can play however you want. And I think that the dedication to that in particular, I find wonderful. So I'm always excited when I see huge lists of changes because it means they're really thinking about everything and they want everyone to use any weapon they want and not have a bunch of people screaming at you because you're not using a Suros regime.
Yeah. Here's the one thing that bothers me. They're yet again tweaking auto rifles to make them less valuable as a weapon. And that kind of bothers me. I feel like they did really well with them in the last balance to level them out, but they're making them even less powerful at long ranges. They're saying close to mid-range is how you use this weapon. So pretty much they're going to be worthless at long range now?
I mean, I think they're going with the whole point of view of like, okay, like scout rifles and pulse rifles are going to be like your longer range, right, primaries. And then your ARs are going to be kind of that somewhat all around, little bit of everything. Maybe
there's some confusing language with
Yeah.
the auto rifles,
Yeah.
especially at the end. So the changes simple damage reduction, balanced across rate of fire, and stuff like that. And of course, reducing effective range so that fall off value and accuracy are stronger for combat decisions. But then they have this sentence: range reduction is less severe for higher stat values. So now your range stat is more critical. So I feel like the change they might be trying to make is that, oh, hey, if you want to use this at range, you're going to have to spec into it. It's not just going to be native in there, so your range stat doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I kind of feel like that's been an issue with a lot of other weapons, and they kind of address that with the hand cannons as well, is that if you have a steady hand, it doesn't really matter what range you're using it at. As long as you're not outside of the damage drop-off, you're like, I can use a hand cannon to snipe. I can use an auto rifle to snipe.
Yeah, that's true. Well, that's how it was at launch.
I think they're addressing
awesome.
that here, and I think that's a good choice.
Well, the whole goal of this is to get you to use pulse rifles, right? And to like have them as a viable choice
Well,
in combat.
yeah.
Is that going to happen?
Maybe.
No.
We have to take a look and see like once it's actually in the wild. But the thing is like at least they're making an effort, right? Right now, like if you go into PvP with a pulse rifle, you're gonna be laughed at. Like it's not even no way, shape, or form an option, like a good option, right? So I don't know. I mean, they threw up a bunch of statistics in terms of like graphs and stuff. Like this is the percentage of like pulse rifle users and compared to everything else, and it was significantly lower. So
they actually buffed it by 9.7%. I have the stats up on my phone. Is that enough? Is that going to make them a viable option?
I mean,
the BR in Halo when they introduced it was like the best, right?
Yeah.
But there's no pulse rifle in this game that acts like that weapon. And it's kind of unfortunate.
It's true.
You
I
know?
know. I mean, I think it's just something like we just have to see. And I know a lot of people are just like, oh my goodness, like my hand cannons aren't going to be effective long range. It's like, yeah, they want it. They want to make it so like you can go in. It's like, well, what do I want to choose today? Like right now, it's just like, all right, I'm going to go Suros or I'm going to go Last Word.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I mean, for me personally, one of the things that has kept me out of PvP is my lack of ability to make choices. Like, I really like doing PvP, but I want to be able to play with whatever weapon I want. And the fact that if I'm trying to do PvP, whether I'm streaming it or not, I'm getting flack because I like shotguns or I want to use a scout rifle, and everyone's like, why aren't you just using a Suros?
Yeah.
You're an idiot.
Yeah.
Why are you even playing this game? Go die.
They always said they
really heated, and I love balance in PvP, and so I don't know if this is. I wouldn't say like they're trying to force people to use pulse rifles. I think they're trying to make pulse rifles viable.
Yeah.
And they're doing that via tweaks to other things and the weapon itself.
Auto rifles are just the spray and pray weapon that too many people are going to go to. I don't like how the pulse rifles control in this game. It took me until like end game to actually find a pulse rifle that I enjoyed. There's a few that actually have really low recoil and actually have perks that you can utilize, but it's like 2 guns, maybe Red Death, maybe the one you get from Vault, you know?
I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah.
Like once it gets
And
to the wild.
like right now, the only viable pulse rifles that I have kind of seen or enjoy using are the I really like the Oversoul Edict, and I really like the Bad Juju, and I haven't had a chance to play with the Red Death. I still don't have that.
I don't either. I'm still
like,
hunting
those
that down.
two I like, but everything else is like if you do a Nightfall and you get a freaking pulse rifle as a reward.
Oh yeah, it's just like, well, that was a bad night.
Garbage.
So we want to move on to
Yeah, we're going to move on to the House of Wolves leak now. I'm just actually going to bring up a few notes from the Reddit community. So initially it kind of came up, and the big thing was that the launch date would be in May. We'll talk about that a little later.
Yeah.
But what the really important thing is the new rating on gear, including weapons and armor. It looks like it's going to be 39 now for light levels on all your gear. That's what it is. I'm telling you.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was about to say, like,
Yeah.
I looked at
Yeah.
all of it, but I didn't, like, take a picture of it in my head. Yeah, I mean, I'm assuming it's going to be, the same thing, right? Where we just go up a couple, like, levels overall on our characters and stuff, and, yeah.
Yeah.
So the question is, we have this huge leak. We know that damages are going to be higher. It's going to be 39 on the light. The big question is there anything worth coming back for?
The raid.
The raid. But we don't know what weapons are coming from the raid. It's just all we saw was a bunch of Vanguard gear and
Yeah, Crucible gear as well.
Yeah.
I mean, either way, just the fact that, we know that there's going to be raid gear to hunt down. I think that always gets everyone that plays Destiny pretty excited,
I get excited about raid gear. It's good stuff.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
I think it was very interesting. Bro, I thought it was very interesting that the little snapshot of the raid, it said level 29. I know everyone was freaking out on the internet. Like, why is it level 29? Placeholders. Lots of things on there are placeholders and will probably change. And if not, for certainly, will change. But I like how the description said the arena.
yes.
I thought that was
Yeah.
interesting. So I know the DLC is going to be tied to a lot of the Queen, right? And
True.
and that whole story arc.
Yeah,
in
you're,
mind.
there's
So-
going to be new story missions and something that's really exciting, a new weekly Nightfall strike that's level 32. So they're
Yeah.
going to be upgrading that again.
Upgrading that and upgrading I'm sure they'll upgrade the the strike playlist as well.
So
So
Broman,
28 instead of 26 there is what I would imagine. It'd be
Yeah.
silly if it didn't happen.
Yeah, well, it needs to happen.
So Broman, so it says that it says in the description for the arena. What are you picturing in your head?
So what I've been thinking about the arena for a while, and when people are like, "That's what it's called," it definitely brings to mind something that's a lot different than like Crota's End or Vault of Glass. You're
a little more
when you see the
ambiguous.
arena, like you think of competition.
Yeah.
And so, I am hoping. I've been thinking about some things that I would like to see in a raid in Destiny, and so honestly, when I think of arena, I think of boss rush. So it would be really cool if the arena raid ended up being something like just insanely difficult fights one after the other.
Yeah.
And it kind of matches, because the raids they've done a really good job with matching the raids with the feel and mentality of the enemy tropes. So the Vault of Glass is very methodical. Crota's End is very hectic and dark. But aside from the Cabal, the Fallen are very, very much hierarchical knight type enemies, and so having an arena where you would fight their strongest people would kind of make the most sense for a raid. So that's what I'm really hoping
Yeah.
for. That's what it brings to my mind.
I'm really hoping one part is kind of like a gladiator arena style, face off in a giant dome. It'd be pretty cool.
like 6 people against one big thing, or waves.
Yeah, or just all right, we're gonna crowds cheering stuff, and just them sending out different bosses. I think that'd be pretty sick.
That'd be
What
sick.
if the raid is the Queen says you have to go beat the arena to continue or something? So you go in and you fight this arena type thing you guys were talking about. That'd be kind of cool.
I think that would be fun. And also, it might be dreaming, but you could, something that they haven't done with raids, but they really, really could do is kind of, since they have such a vast variety of enemy types and they have all this different stuff that's built in, as there's potential for randomization inside of it. So what if you go to the arena and every time you enter, there could be changes to it? You maybe fight the same set of bosses, but there's an arc burn, or there is, different modifiers that could happen. And that would honestly, any raid, if they could do that to any raid in
That'd
the
be
game,
cool.
and it would really revitalize it, because every time you play it, it's not the same raid.
That'd actually be pretty awesome. And then they could have changing landscapes too.
Yep.
Yeah, that's sick actually.
Do you
It would
think
be really, really cool.
so? Luke from Bungie said that they're gonna not make the same mistakes that they did last time
Like the
with
exotic
Crota's
gear?
End. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Well, no, they just said we're not going to make the same mistakes. They were
The same
purposely
mistake.
vague.
I read that.
Do you think they're going to do something for Vault of Glass and Crota's End, giving you a reason to go back and play those raids?
I think a good reason would be like, hey, if you play the raid again and you get those like legendary pieces of raid weapons, they'll be like whatever the current like level damage is.
Yeah,
I think
that's all they need to do to make them replayable. Just like
Yeah.
If I
okay,
can go back and get a higher level of Vision of Confluence or Fatebringer, oh, I'm doing it.
like
100%.
those weapons are highly sought after.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate they haven't done it yet. In my opinion, there should be an upgrade system or a reason to play through Vault again on a higher difficulty.
Yeah, why haven't they just flipped the switch yet?
All they really have to do is add the higher difficulty option, and then change the drops to be better drops.
No.
I think that would be a good fix.
I spent a lot of time thinking about this because it seems like a simple solution, right? Like it seems like all they got to do is just the thing. Like why don't they just do the thing?
Obviously, there's a lot to implement.
I like to when I'm thinking about this stuff, I like to think about like what the game developers have in their toolbox and what they might be concerned about. Like why don't they just flip the switch? And I think that maybe one of the things they could be quite concerned about is balancing, because some of the weapons from Vault of Glass are so good. They're just so good that if they were to come out with the higher damage versions, they would again become the only choice for most situations. So they might be like protecting their babies. Like, no, we like all this stuff.
I mean, yeah, that makes sense, right? Like
which would be a terrible, terrible reason.
Yeah. I mean,
it really
see
would.
that.
But I totally agree. I was a little bummed that there wasn't like, level 32 Vault of Glass to do.
Yeah.
Because I mean, I'll be really honest. Hard mode Crota is not a fun thing to do. Hard mode, this is my opinion personally.
Okay.
From running it a lot, and running it on stream a lot, it feels very unbalanced compared to hard mode Vault of Glass, because you're constantly up against a damage wall, because everything's one level above you and you're taking more damage and all this other stuff, and it leads to a lot of things that are problems that aren't necessarily execution and player based, which is extremely frustrating as a player to say, yesterday we did this in 25 minutes. Today it's taking us an hour and a half, and there's literally nothing different. It's just whether or not enemies decide to cooperate with you in their movements. And I feel like that takes away a lot of player agency, and that bothers me a lot. So that's what kind of bugs me about the hard mode Crota encounter.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
Yeah, I agree. And just in general, I don't enjoy the Crota encounter as a whole. It's just a stationary boss that you knock down and then you hit a bunch. I mean, I like the teamwork aspects of it, but I don't like it as much as like the Vault of Glass encounter where you get teleported somewhere and you have to do a thing in there and your team split up. You're covering each other on the inside, and on the outside you're covering the guys on the inside, getting them an exit. I like that you're kind of split up into two groups, and then you come back together to put the damage on the boss.
I mean, I think it goes back to what Broman was saying like earlier, where it's just like, Vault of Glass is more methodical, right?
Yeah.
And then Crota is more just like smash through these walls and keep going.
And it really could honestly just be that's the choice they wanted to make. They felt like that's how you would fight the Hive, or you would fight Crota in particular. But I just really I strongly dislike the idea that like Vault of Glass, everyone does damage except for the Relic Bearer, and in Crota's End, nobody does damage. Nobody does damage except for the Relic Bearer. So it's the polar opposite of the raid, which means like there's a whole bunch of pressure on one person, and it might be a great experience for them, but the rest of your team kind of feels helpless. And when that person messes up, you get mad at them, and it's I don't know.
Yeah, it's a lot of pressure on one person.
It's hectic. It's hectic, which again matches with what they're may have been trying to do.
Wait, Broman does have a sweet looking Crota sword, like literally right
now.
Oh
yeah, let's see it.
This thing is awesome.
My sweet,
look at that, dude.
This is pretty. I got this because I was like, man, I don't have any Destiny memorabilia. I would really like something, but I didn't really like any stuff on the Bungie store. And then I found this guy on like Etsy who was like, dude, I make Crota swords, and I was like, what? So yeah, I got this thing. It's freaking awesome.
So that thing's totally awesome.
How
Yeah,
heavy
it's
is it
made
in
of
real
foam.
life?
I got it. My girlfriend was like, "Dude, we're gonna put that over the TV." She's like, "We're gonna put it right there because it looks so badass."
Is it like made out of foam?
It is. It's made out of like a little bit like tough foam.
Yeah.
It's a little wiggly. If you
looks
give it a
really
pop,
good.
You can see the.
I
if you
actually-
swing it too hard on this end, it like kind of moves like it's gonna break. But I imagine it's not designed to.
Yeah, to
assault
actually start.
people.
I actually
Like,
saw.
I'm glad it didn't show up in like a 20-pound package, and I suddenly
my
have,
goodness.
Like, a
And it's, like, made
huge,
out of
heavy
pure
weapon in my
metal.
house. Yeah, it was pretty.
Yeah, that's sweet. I did see someone retweet one time. There's this guy that makes actual like legit replicas of the last word in the Thorn hand
Oh
cannon.
yeah, that's right.
Yes.
So cool. They're like $400 though. But
I
still,
want one really
they're
bad,
so
but I can't.
cool.
The fact that they
can't.
exist is
Yeah.
cool.
I can't do it.
All right, so we have to move on to our last topic, and that is the new release dates. Originally, this was rumored to be May, which
March, right?
March.
Because
Well, okay,
originally,
so
like,
originally
way
it
back
was
when,
March.
It was March because of that comet, like
The
projector.
Comet picture
Yeah.
DLC
Picture, yeah.
thing leaked.
Then,
Yeah.
then with this leak, we heard May, and now Bungie came out and officially said it's going to be Q2 of 2015, which is actually April through June.
Yeah, April,
Yeah.
May,
No,
June.
no. Yeah, that's right. April, May, or June. That worries me.
I think that's rough.
I think-
April.
Okay, we're all on the same page. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think April. Okay, like March is gonna be a very like, I gotta tread through this mud. Like
People
type of
just aren't
month.
going to play.
But like, if it's in May or especially June, like
June would
that's
be
w-
entirely too long, in my opinion.
that's
Yeah.
way too long.
There's too many other games that are going to come out that people are going to get invested in, and it really worries me for the player base of Destiny.
Yeah.
When we come back in June, we're pretty hardcore players. We'll probably come back. Are as many people going to be there, or is the player base
Yeah.
just going to totally drop off?
Is it going to lead
Yeah.
to a lot of abandonment? So I've actually been thinking a lot about like, okay, I'm hoping that they're saying Q2 and it's April.
Like April
Yeah.
first week, like April
Like the
7th.
first-
or
Hoping
something.
that, and then the rest is just kind of to in case something goes wrong, like they
Bungie.
have room.
Bungie
Yeah.
just saying my birthday's April 5th. Just saying. I don't know
It
what
could
day
be a
that
good
is this
present.
year, but yeah.
I definitely think that Q2 seems like a long time. I think early Q2 wouldn't be too bad, but anything longer than that really worries me, unless they have a whole bunch of other stuff they kind of have hiding in the wings that they're going to be pushing out. Like everyone seems to enjoy Iron Banner, but it's kind of starting to wear thin. You're like, Iron Banner again, yay!
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially if you have
But
all the gear.
They might have some other stuff in their toolkit, like some more PvE events, maybe some more unique changes. Maybe they want to make the changes to, Vault of Glass and all that other upgrade stuff. It doesn't necessarily have to come in a DLC.
They had the
Sure.
Queens thing like once,
Yeah.
and then they're
One
like,
time.
"Oh, we don't like it."
I
so
think
this is
what
gone.
could help alleviate that pain is like events, right? Like maybe some cool PvE events.
Yeah.
Bring back the Queen's Bounty stuff. Bring back Iron Banner. There's rumors of a Trials of Osiris, like a more hardcore type.
I think,
thing, like-
honestly, Trials
Yeah,
of
that's coming.
Osiris would probably be a really, really big deal.
That's
Yeah.
I know
multiplayer
it's always
based,
been
though,
hinted
right?
at, but people, every time Iron Banner comes up, my chat is just like, dude, what's Trials of Osiris? I want to do Trials of Osiris right now. When can I play this Trials of Osiris thing? Like, people get pumped about that. I'm not even great at PvP, but I would bust my butt to get into some Trials of Osiris action.
It's gonna be.
Especially because there's like that Fate of All Fools thing that everyone thinks is coming from Trials of Osiris.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah. So I mean, I think stuff like that could really help. But honestly, I know a lot of people who, when even though like my brother, for example, he's hardcore, especially when it comes to a game like Destiny, but if he's not playing it for a couple months, like he's young, like he can use the money to buy other games, so
Yeah.
he's gonna get rid
Yeah.
of it. And he's gonna trade it in or something, or sell it, and then use it to buy a different game.
I think the only thing they have going for them is like it's free. You don't have to. Well, not the DLC, but like the fact that you
Yeah.
can play online is free.
No subscription.
Yeah, and people who ordered the more expensive versions also got it for free, the DLC for free. So
Yeah.
I think there's still going to be a player base there, but this is a scary time for the game, like leaving that big of a gap. Hard mode
Yeah.
released in January, right? So they really need something to fill that space. And if they're
Yeah.
betting everything on Trials of Osiris, I'd be scared if I was on their side.
I think they at least need that though. Like,
they need more than that, is what I'm saying.
At the very least, like if you just don't have anything, like sure, a large amount of people will come back, but you got to think like a good chunk are just gonna get sliced off the top and never return.
Yeah, I know you and I have been playing a little less, than we normally do because we have just responsibilities and other games that we're playing, and if that's where we're at, then that's a little concerning for where the overall community is going to be at.
I mean, this is a question I want to ask
months.
Broman, because I pretty much have everything at this point, and
I need 6 exotics and that's it.
And I'm just like, I don't. There's nothing and I play this game a lot, you know.
Yeah.
There's just nothing to bring me back night after night. But like, Broman, like, how do you feel? Because you stream Destiny like 12 hours a day, like.
Yeah. I mean, from my perspective as a streamer, I am getting to enjoy. For my MMO experience, one of the things that I love to do is finally, once I have all my stuff, you just play the game, which is something that I really, really enjoy. You play it how you want, with who you want, you help people. So like from a streaming aspect, for me, it's almost really relaxing to finally have everything sort of finished up. But at the other end of that spectrum, that is super fun for me, but it might not be super fun for everyone who's watching. They might want to see new stuff, and the new stuff's not there. It's worrisome for me for like the Destiny Twitch community if there's a huge gap in content, because people will be like, I don't know. And I do have, most of the stuff. I only need a couple more exotics on PlayStation, and I do play on Xbox One as well, but it's kind of like a poverty character. Well, I mean, I like to play with everyone that I can, which is why I picked up the Xbox. But I'm just really like, I'm nervous about it. I'm excited because I like just playing the game, but I'm also nervous about it because I want new things to do too.
Yeah.
And I don't want to. I love playing the game. I love streaming, and the community is fantastic on Twitch. I've been on Twitch for a while, and it's one of the best communities I've ever participated in on Twitch. And I'd hate to see all that kind of wane or go away simply because of a unreasonably long gap in content.
Yeah.
Even with this
producer.
Yeah, even with this podcast, like we've noticed like a huge outpouring of support, and there are other fans out there.
Yeah, just today we found out that we were on iTunes,
up and coming,
or new and noteworthy.
Noteworthy.
Yeah,
nice.
Yeah,
and we were the #1 video game podcast for like 3 weeks now.
Yeah, for 3 weeks.
That's crazy.
So I mean, it's been doing well, and a lot of people are just like, "Why?" I know. So like sometimes in my streams, I get a lot of backlash, like, "Why do you still play this game?" Well, a lot of people, including myself, still play, watch, and enjoy it.
Yeah,
it is such a good game because I feel like, to me, it hit a lot of just a lot of the things that I like about games. And like games, like any other art forms, it's about like adapting old concepts and old practices into something, and then you use that to create something new. So Destiny took a whole bunch of stuff that people like: first-person shooters, looter shooters, MMOs, grinding, slow progression, all these things that people really, really like, but they're kind of only getting maybe on a PC experience, and they brought it to console.
Yeah.
In a format that everyone loves to play on console. Like, people love console FPSs. So like, there's all of this great stuff that everyone's like, it's got a little bit of something for everything. And if you like all of those genres, it's like literally just this golden egg of a game.
Yeah.
When I first played it, I was not expecting that at all. But within 4 hours, I realized what I was playing, and I was like, "Oh my god, I love this!"
Yeah.
I think one of the things I'm scared about too, and this goes from me being like my streamer point of view, is that like in January, Destiny was like the number 8th most like watched game on Twitch. Like they threw out an article. I feel like with this gap, like we could drop off the top 10.
Yeah,
and
for
I feel
sure.
like it sucks. It sucks that like
it does suck. It does suck.
It sucks because like it's obvious that if you keep putting out a good like flow of content, the people will be there. But that gap, you could see a drop off of just people who don't want to, need to take a break.
Yeah. Well, anyway, guys, that's all we have time for today. I agree, Alfredo. I am a little worried, but thank you everybody for watching the podcast, the Jose List podcast, where I stumbled through hosting.
Now this is fun.
Yeah.
So Broman, yes. So go ahead and toss us like where do you want people to find you? The Twitter, the YouTube, the Twitches.
Yeah. So here you go. If you want to find me anywhere on the internet except for YouTube, you can find me Professor Broman. Professor Broman on Twitter. Professor Broman on Twitch. I don't have a Facebook page, but maybe you can find me if you look for Professor Broman. You're gonna find me.
Exactly.
Primarily, if you want to see me, you want to interact with me, twitch.tv/Professor Broman. I am there literally every day streaming Destiny, or if it's not Destiny, it's something else fun. And YouTube, it is youtube.com/BenWCA. I apologize for the lack of continuity, but it's easy to remember if you're like, Waka! Like,
that works.
It's how I keep myself from crying. But yeah, that's where you guys can find me. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I had an absolutely wonderful time.
Oh yeah, it's
yeah.
a blast. You know, I mean, there's a lot of us that love talking about Destiny, so it's like, well, why not make a podcast on it?
Yeah, it was great having you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Alfredo, where can people find your stuff?
They could find me. They can contact me on Twitter at the Alfredo Plays, and I am streaming the Destinies and now Smite on my Twitch channel, twitch.tv/Alfredo Plays. And occasionally I play with Broman, Goth, and all those guys.
Yeah.
Fun.
You can email the podcast at destiny@ign.com. We've got a lot of emails to go through, but we do at least read all of them. Thank you so much for everybody who sent an email. You can find me mostly on Twitter at DestinLegary. And thanks for watching this week. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.